Yeah, that's a really interesting question. If we're thinking about this from a native perspective, yeah, absolutely, it's incredibly important. But I think you have to remember the times he grew up in. Massasoit grew up in this part of the world when there were really no English colonists. So his world was very different to his son's world. Metacom was born into a world where the colonists were already here. So he knows no different. His native culture has always had English and Scottish and all the European cultures have always been present throughout his whole life. So I feel that he himself sometimes takes on this persona of King Philip. There are stories of him prior to the war going through the streets of Boston decked out in his finest wampum. So I feel like he plays the line between two cultures. I feel like I'm not saying it's okay to call him King Philip, but certainly at times he perhaps takes on that persona to better achieve his own aims. He's a shrewd negotiator, and I feel that by the time the war comes, he is just backed into a corner. It's a very different world to the one his father lived in the early 17th century. So I think it's important to know that he's known as Metacom. And I think, again, going back to those road names, we have Metacom Avenue, we have Massasoit. But yeah, it's more around the war that he takes on that persona of King Philip. And it's what the English do with all of the Native Americans that they reach, that they tend to anglicize their names. During King Philip's War, which runs from 1675 to 1676, it's such a bleak war for both sides. A third of all of New England towns are completely wiped out, and had the tide of war not turned, the colonists might have had to go back to England. Okay, the Native American tribes who joined an alliance had pushed them so far back. So during the course of the war, they have nothing to be thankful for. They see it as a sign that God has turned his back on them and is punishing them completely by wiping out their men, their women, their children, their villages, their livestock, their neatly fenced houses. And so they don't have any days of Thanksgiving during the course of the war. And the first day of Thanksgiving they have is the day when Philip is killed. And Philip's head is brought to the Thanksgiving and ceremoniously plonked in the centre of Plymouth, and it remains there for years after.